I thought we could spend the day together and talk.
Oh, we have the whole weekend to talk, and you know very well that I cannot cancel the Red Cross unless
it's for this episode of the Retro Rewind podcast.
Reflux capacitor fluxing. Crew to stations. Scanning for the Parent Trap, 1961. Prepare to rewind in 3, 2, 1.
Welcome, Rewinders and new listeners, to the Retro Rewind podcast, where we take a fresh look at movies and games from 15 or more years ago. I'm your captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz, and I'm joined by your ex-own mind, Paul, the Master Interrupter Powers.
Hey, Captain. You look pretty good. What did you do to yourself?
Do to myself? Also, for this discussion of the film The Parent Trap, we welcome back aboard our ship's yeoman, Ashley Cronenbitter.
Hello. Thank you for having me back.
Of course. Thank you for being back, Ashley. But Ashley is just one part of the twin team-up to discuss The Parent Trap. The other half being none other than our chief historian, Celeste Mora. Welcome, Celeste.
Oh, Captain, my Captain. Hello.
Hello. Now, Celeste, this happens to be your 10th time on the podcast.
Really?
Yes. So historically, do you know what that means?
I talk too much?
No, that's not what that means. It means you have
also true.
attained the rank of officer, our highest rank that you can attain, because me and Paul are the highest.
Right.
But you get all the privileges and responsibilities therein. Congratulations. Thank you so much for being on the show for so many times. Good job, Celeste.
Yay.
So yes, you are now historian officer. But now that you have a quick flyby of who we are, Paul, can you give us a quick overview of production specs for The Parent Trap 1961? 1961. I know what you're going to do.
All right, I'll keep Lindsay Lohan out of this. The Parent Trap was released June 21st of 1961, a year earlier than our previous episode of King Kong vs. Godzilla, so check that out. This movie runs 2 hours and 9 minutes and is rated as past. Past what? I don't know. Actually, it's the movie review board.
Before the whole MPAA or whatever it was.
Yeah. Anyway, it was directed by David Swift and it was written by Eric Kostner. I don't know how to pronounce the two law things over the A, but anyway. And it was also written by the director, David Swift. The lead stars being Haley Mills, Maureen O'Hara, and Brian Keith and Haley Mills. The music was composed by Paul J. Smith with songs by the Sherman Brothers. Are you ready for the box office trivia game?
I'm ready. Ashley, Celeste, are you ready?
Sure.
Awesome.
Okay.
And chat, are you ready? I'll take that as a yes. Go for it, Paul.
The Parent Trap was made for about $15 million and went on to earn over $25 million in the box office.
Not too bad. Not too bad.
Yeah, given this and the fact that it was released way back in 1961, how high in the box office do you think it ranks among the other movies made in 1961? Go for the top 50 if you can.
Top 50. Okay. Ashley, where do you think it ranks in the top 50?
That's a tough one. Probably somewhere closer to 50. So let's go with 48.
48. I'm sure Bobo says 42. Celeste, what's your guess?
I'm trying to think of what else would have come out that year. So I'm gonna guess 42.
40. Okay. 42. In chat, we have, we have several guesses. Real Arcade says 3. Ooh, pretty high. Cellcast middle of the pack pretty much with 20. And then D. Tungsten guesses 27. Kevin Joshua Burnham guesses 13. Bob, of course, guesses 42. Star Fox guesses 43. I'm going to guess... it can't be one. Just for the lulls, I'm going to say $1, Bob.
All right. That number 1 or number 50?
Well, number 1. At number 1.
Okay. Close. It was actually number 6.
Oh.
So the real RKO wins.
Wow. Good job, Real
Seriously?
Arcade. Because he said 3, right?
How?
That was really high because it's
Well,
so
What
popular.
actually-
else came out that year?
The
Nothing.
number 1 movie of that year was a movie we covered called 101 Dalmatians.
Head
Oh,
thump.
that makes sense.
Does it really? All right. Well, good job, Real RKO. Thank you, Ashley and Celeste, for playing. And thank you for those factoids, Paul. And let's see if any of them factor into our memory mind meld or subsequent roundtable discussion, which we'll get into once Alice has located our target film.
Alert, alert. Approaching target. Spoilers incoming. Establishing analysis vector.
It began with an incredible resemblance, a remarkable coincidence,
It's my mother. It's my mother, too.
an extraordinary discovery.
Golly. Sisters.
And now, Susan and Sharon, two twins separated since they were babies, have an ingenious plan to get their parents back together.
Which? We could do it.
It's double the trouble and 3 times the laughs when Haley Mills and Haley Mills team up to spring The Parent Trap,
Surprise!
exclusively on the Disney Channel.
See, it was Haley Mills and Haley Mills.
Mm-hmm.
That commercial definitely brings back some memories about The Parent Trap, but to give you some context for the things we collectively remembered most before our rewatch, here is our memory mind meld synopsis for The Parent Trap. Really long credits open with the movie title set in a song form, complete with claymation cherubs, mismatched twins, and mystery parents. Just who are John and Marcia? Two girls who look alike go to camp together and realize they are separated twin sisters as opposed to doppelgangers. But these doppelgangers play pranks on each other. They don't get along, and then they do, and then decide to switch places in order to get their parents back together. Surely no one will notice. They didn't take into account that Dad may have found someone else, the staff, who are not as dense as the mom and dad, would realize the difference. And overall, they would need to try and bite harder than just getting them. Try a bit harder. Thank you. Try a bit harder than just getting them on the same side of the country in order to trap their parents. In lieu of pretending to be the other twin, the sisters dress identically and refuse to say who is who unless their whole family goes camping together. Parent traps? I'm sure there is a happy ending. I think it kind of was right, but I'm gonna say some of it was decepted. I mean, there's a lot of like, oh, well, they should have done this. That's not about the movie. That's about other things. So decepted. Yeah, we'll go with that.
Right.
Based on those memories, as terribly flawed, so flawed as they were, what rating did they lead you to predict for this film before rewatching?
Whole nother movie.
Classic, nostalgic, or tragic? Celeste, what was your prediction before rewatching it?
I predicted classic.
Classic. Ashley, how about you?
Nostalgic.
Nostalgic. Paul?
Good call. I almost predicted that because it had been over almost 30 years since I've seen this.
So
but
a
I went
tragic
ahead and
prediction.
Shot
okay.
for the moon and predicted classic.
Whoa. Okay. And it has been years for me as well. I felt like it was probably going to be wholesome at the very least. So I decided I'll go ahead and just go with nostalgic. But it is Disney, so I was leery of that prediction. We'll see.
Was the wholesome a dig towards Lindsay Lohan?
No, just
Okay.
no, not at all. Wow, Paul. Okay. Wow. It'll be interesting to see if those predictions came true. But first, let's get into our discussion of the things we liked most about The Parent Trap. Let's spin up our
Best 3.
Best 3 things. Okay, let's start with Celeste. What's one thing you liked about The Parent Trap? 1961.
Sorry.
Not the year 1961. The movie The Parent Trap from 1961, in case that wasn't clear.
It was.
Okay, good.
So I really liked the end scene, the camping. Not the end scene, but like the entire segment of the camping, because it just was very humorous to me, and I think it played off there's a certain feel to movies from this time frame, and it really played up in that time. Like that was just, it was really funny, and the tricks, you're like, they're predictable, but they were humorous and they're kind of harmless. So,
and it was kind of like, it was kind of nice that it was a bookend to the beginning where that started at camping, used a lot of the same scheming and stuff.
Yeah.
So that was kind of nice.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, of
So
course
I
I know
think-
that, says Paul.
I think the most not harmless one was the giving her sugar water for mosquitoes, because malaria is a thing. But
In the States at that time? I don't know about that, but I suppose other diseases for sure.
Oh my gosh, when they put the honey on the bear, I can't
little
believe
bear
I mean and the
cubs.
bear was licking the feet. I can't believe the actress was okay with that, because how would they prevent the bears from starting eating, like gnawing on
gnawing.
the feet?
Could it have been
I
like
really-
a dummy or something, maybe?
I really hope there was
Those
only
look
one
like real
take.
feet.
They looked like her feet.
They were CG.
Somebody had painted
guys.
those
They're
toenails.
CG feet.
CG feet back in 61.
Yeah.
Oh, the
They
technology.
didn't have CG yet. But yeah, it definitely did they not nibble her toes? I really hope they got that in one take.
I would
Yeah.
have been worried about that as well. Ashley, was the camping or some other component of this film make your like list?
Well, camping definitely did not. It wasn't up on the top. But let me tell you what did. Actually, a big thing that I really liked about this film were the supporting characters, particularly her grandfather, Charles McKendrick, played by the incomparable Charles Ruggles. He was just so adorable. And I remember even liking his character when I was a little wee one, just thinking he was just so cheeky and just so funny. And I actually wrote down one of his lines because I just thought it was so stinking funny about how when he first is introduced to Susan playing Sharon coming back from camp, and she says that she's making a memory of how he smells like tobacco and peppermint, and then he says, well, I'll tell you what, I take the peppermint for my indigestion, and as for the tobacco, it's to make your grandmother mad. And the way that he delivers it, he's just so cheeky, and it's just so funny. And he's such a heartwarming part of this film, even though he's only on screen for a really short period of time, because he comes to the defense of his granddaughter when the grandmother is ridiculing Sharon because of her short hair, and he says that he likes it. And later, when she's actually revealed to be Susan, she lets the mother and daughter have a moment together and has the grandmother wait in the wings. And it's just fun how he's kind of a part of it all from the very beginning, and he's just very sweet.
Ashley, let me tell you this. Why you guys steal my classic maker? Seriously. Come on. I mean, I'm right there with you. I love that. What was his name? Charles
Ruggles, yeah.
He was, oh my gosh.
Delightful,
he was
right?
Perfect. He was perfect.
A breath
for
of
that.
fresh air, and he was like the cherry on top.
Yes.
Yeah.
I love that he was willing to conspire to get he wasn't mad at, I guess was it Sharon or Susan? I got that confused.
It was Susan as Sharon.
Susan as Sharon. Yeah. And that he was, like you said, that he wanted to give her and her mom that moment. And it was just like, he was totally delightful. Loved him so much. I wanted him to be at the end. Was he at the end? I don't think he was at the end. Was he?
He was.
Yeah.
He was the very,
Yeah,
very
they were
end.
they were
with the
in the
wedding.
very end scene
Yeah.
for like just kind of like the panoramic shot as they were going in.
That's
yeah.
right. That's right.
Yeah.
Well, I would have liked to have seen him in a little bit more because I just liked him so much. But yeah, that was my classic maker. So again, thanks a lot for stealing that. Maybe you should get Bean Boozled for that, Ashley. But
I think
that
not,
wasn't in the
but
terms,
I'm glad that we
all
have
right,
that in
fine.
common because he was just so delightful.
Yeah, I totally agree. Paul, what was a delightful thing for you for this movie?
As soon as the movie began, the delightful music of the Sherman Brothers came on, and it was just so nice. I really liked the music in this film. The Parent Trap at the beginning and Let's Get Together later on in the movie. And if you don't know who the Sherman Brothers are, you need to look them up because they're one of the best music.
I mean,
writers
their
out
music
there.
in Mary Poppins is fantastic. I'm completely behind
Really
that.
is.
I wasn't really feeling it in this one, but okay, that's fine.
It's good. They're good.
Do you know
Next.
who sang the opening song, Paul?
Annette Funicello and somebody else.
Yes,
I don't know
Annette
who
full
the
of
somebody
Jello,
else.
and who was the other person, Ashley?
I don't know the other person. All I can tell you was Annette Funicello, and she was best known at that time for being on the original Mickey Mouse Club. So she was kind of like a teen heartthrob at the time. So they were trying to get into the teen scene by having her sing that duet. And actually, there was a version of her "Let's Get Together" at the dance as well.
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
cool. Oh, yeah, that's right. It's interesting. Tommy Sands was the male performer in
Yes.
that, and they were actually both shooting Babes in Toyland at the same time, and they were called over to sing this. So I thought that was a cool connection.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. But you like the music on the whole, or just the Sherman Brothers pieces, Paul?
The Sherman Brothers one. The audio score by the person I previously mentioned was fine.
The forgettable person.
What? Yeah. I mean, they're no Sherman Brothers.
And
I mean,
they're no John Billiams. So I mean, really. Yeah.
There we go.
Very good, Paul. So the music. Let's go back to Celeste. What's something? Oh, actually, no. Let's go to classic makers now. But since I did mine already, let me go ahead and do my other like that I liked, which may be one of your classic makers, guys. Maureen O'Hara as Maggie, she was just so winsome for me, except for her domestic abuse. I didn't really care for that. But everything else.
Oh, come on.
Oh, excuse me, Paul. Sorry. Paul's a fan of domestic abuse. I loved her character, how she was she was so charming, and very enjoyable to watch, and really enjoyed her as Maggie. So, let's see. Let's go for classic makers. Let's go to Celeste. Were any of the characters your classic maker, or was there some other element of this film that you love the most?
I think the general feel of the movie was my classic maker. It just had this feel of it's fun, that we're dealing with serious subjects here, but we're going to do it in a fun way, and in a way that, doesn't make you all sad and upset. I mean, you have your moments, but it was just a nice, lighthearted movie.
So, see, Paul, Celeste agrees with you that domestic abuse is fun and lighthearted. It's great.
No. See?
No.
Want to clarify, I don't. Never mind. I don't.
I know, of course.
No.
I'm totally. We are the Retro Rewind podcast.
Just like this podcast.
None of its members condone domestic abuse in any form at all. We are just making light because that's a small part of this film. Now you make me feel bad, Paul. Thanks a lot.
Okay.
Anyway,
Hey,
Celeste, the overall
podcast is just like the film.
the overall fun is what was your classic maker. Fantastic. Ashley, did the overall fun happen to be the thing you love the most, or was there something else?
It was not. Actually, my classic maker was a lot of the dialogue in the movie. It was just so memorable, and it still packs a punch 60 years later. I think of the maid. I
can't believe it's 60 years ago.
Yeah,
I cannot
60
believe
years
that.
ago, but honestly, some of the lines.
Did you say packs a punch? I thought we were not talking about domestic violence like that.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Then let me.
We do not.
Okay, please continue.
Let me rephrase. There's a lot of classic one-liners in this film, especially from the maid Verbena. When she's saying,
Yes.
I'm not saying a word, not one single word.
One
And the fact
word.
that it kept coming back in her delivery, she was just spot on. Una Martell was so good playing this cheeky, in everyone's business maid, and the way that she delivered that was great. And I think of some of the things that people said to each other, like the house staff at the McKendrick house saying, "Wait till your grandmother sees your hair," and just how serious they were, and it made me laugh each time. And then I go back to that line delivered by the grandfather about to make your grandmother mad, and their delivery is just spot on each time. And it has to do with that classic dialogue. And you think of the conversation that Sharon is having as Susan with her father, and he asks, "How do you think of Vicky?" She's like, "I've always wanted a sister." And it's just
that's so great. Oh my gosh.
so funny. And then I even think of later on when Susan and the mother show back up, and she's introduced to Vicky, and she goes up to Mrs. Robinson, and she goes, "Oh, Vicky, you're just as beautiful as you've described," or something along those lines. And it's just so flawlessly delivered. And then she's like, "I'm Mrs. Robinson," and it's just the writing. I can't tell you how many times I found myself just giggling over these silly little lines, and it's it's amazing to me, like, how funny something that was funny then can still be funny to me now.
Absolutely.
The interaction between the grandfather and Maureen O'Hara when she was getting ready, where he's basically going, "Oh, dress is lovely."
I forgot about that. That's
You're
so
such
great.
a brave woman for wearing your hair
aging
like
with
that.
grace
'Cause
and
that's not
dignity
how
or something like that.
Like,
So good.
it was so well done that you're like, oh my gosh, I know what he's doing, but he's
Exactly.
doing it in
Yeah,
such
and
a
then
way
she's
that's
saying, like, that's the worst possible thing anyone could ever say. And just
I'm
the
sorry,
delivery
dear.
of these lines, they're so good.
Yes.
I was
Totally.
surprised. There were a lot of tones in that conversation, and then when the mother, Maureen O'Hare characters, meets Vicky, and there were a lot of underlying tones that I didn't recognize as a kid. I mean,
Yes,
as a kid, you know what's going on.
Yeah.
But the way that it's written
Exactly.
and like little digs that each of them are giving to each other, it is so. I have to agree, it's very well written, even by today's standards. Those
this
scenes.
movie wins
Absolutely.
the award for passive aggressiveness.
But it does it
But they do it
so
in,
good.
I was about to say they do it in a way of grace and tact that is missing in today's culture.
That is true.
Totally agree with that.
Absolutely. Well, what was the most graceful and or tactful and or funnest part for you, Paul? Well, no one has mentioned Haley Mills, so I'm curious if Haley Mills is your classmate.
I was about to say, yes, it's similar to what you were saying, Francisco. For me, it's the cast. Between I thought the dad was fine, but Maureen O'Hare and the grandfather and all the people that we mentioned, but especially Haley Mills. I mean, she is just a gem, and it's weird to call her one of the nation's greatest treasures because she's not from the U.S. But hey, who is? But anyway,
People, animals.
oh, that's true.
I'm sure. Anyway.
Yeah, we're not going to go there. But anyway, no, just the cast was delightful in this.
How many hot topics can we touch on tonight during this wholesome
Let's
Parent
see.
Trap discussion?
Racism, abuse.
This is run the gamut. Okay. Okay, but the whole cast was your classmaker. Oh, nice. So, but
Yeah.
you would think that the dad, Mitch, played by
Keith.
none other
Brian
than
Keith,
Brian Keith. Yeah, that sounds
Popeye
about
himself.
Uncle Bill
Is
from
that
Family
Popeye?
Affair.
Yeah.
right. Sure. Yeah, him. He was the weakest link. Goodbye, you'd say.
I don't know if he's the weakest link, but of the
The main
I
characters.
mean, he was still, he did not do a bad job. He was still
I wasn't
enjoyable
trying to say
watch.
that.
But he wasn't as memorable as some of the other characters, is what I mean.
So he wasn't a scene stealer.
No, but I do like the way he lit up sometimes. He did a good job. So
Yes,
I'm
yes.
not trying to discount him. Sorry, Brian, but
May you rest in peace.
Yeah.
Awesome, guys. Well, I guess we can move on to the. Oh,
wait a minute. Don't move on. I think there's something you forgot.
yeah, you're right, Paul. There is something I forgot because I always seem to forget something. Oh my gosh, yeah. So here's the thing I forgot, guys, that I liked. Spirit Blade Productions. Since 2006, Peter Franson has been operating Spirit Blade Productions to create entertainment and resources that equip, encourage, and inspire Christian geeks. And soon after starting this indie studio, Peter expanded to include a ton more content and community under the banner of Christian Geek Central. I am personally a big fan of what Peter is doing, and you can join me in supporting him on Patreon so that we can help keep his ministry going and growing. Not to mention, support can unlock fun rewards for you to enjoy. Head over to patreon.com/spiritplayproductions for all the details.
That's great. And Pater's awesome, so check him out. But is he a twin or something? What does that have to do with the Parent Trap?
Paul,
Yes, Francisco.
this seems... Wait. Oh, yeah. No. Dang it. I had this so perfect in my head earlier, and I didn't write it down because I didn't want to tip my hat to you what it was. Edna mode. Fine. Whatever.
Notes are
Edna mode.
important. Notes are so
Put it
important.
in post.
No, I know it now. I remember it. Paul, okay. Now, I'm surprised you didn't pick up on this, but Peter has covered on his YouTube series and the podcast WandaVision. See the connection?
No.
Only
'cause
if you've
Wanda
seen
and Paige-
WandaVision.
Elizabeth Olsen is a twin.
Oh.
No, she's not. She's the
younger sister
sibling
of twins.
Yeah, she's not Ashley Kate or Mary Olsen.
Wait, what? They're not twins?
No.
Elizabeth
She's
Olsen.
You're
not
kidding
on Full
me.
House.
Elizabeth Olsen is the
No.
younger sister of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, the iconic duo that played Michelle
Yep.
in Full House.
She's not one of them. She's their
Seriously?
sister.
Seriously,
No, you
Yeah.
guys are.
we're serious.
All right, moving on. Let Francisco figure that out
Let
later.
me check. Emily Dickinson wrote. Yeah, it's right here. I got the. No, I think you guys
Mary
are
Shelley,
wrong. Anyway,
Yeah.
Mary
Check
Shelley,
yourself,
Mary
Francis.
Shelley. Now she's gonna haunt you.
That's a different Mary.
okay, you know what?
But I
Fine,
do-
guys. Maybe there is no
But
connection.
I do like how Haley Mills and Haley Mills got to both play in this movie.
Yes, that was nice. All right. Well, regardless of lack of connection, how about some trivia?
Let's
would
have
that
some trivia.
would that be fun? I think that'd be
Yes.
fun. Okay.
Trivia.
Did you all realize? Did you all realize that this movie and the 1998 adaptation featured product placement from Nabisco? In this movie, the girls are seen eating Fig Newtons, and in the
Oh, yeah.
1998
They
version,
look generic.
the
because
girls-
they were kind of huge in today's
I was saying
standard.
that, yes, I was saying that pre-show. And in the 1998 version, the girls are seen eating Oreos dipped in peanut butter. So my question to you guys is, what is your favorite snack food? So let's start with Paul first.
Let's go with M&Ms. My favorite is mint, but you know it's good to have peanut on hand when there aren't mint around.
Wow, glad you're prepared, Paul. Ashley, how about you?
Probably cheese and crackers. I'm like as simple can be, but you get a good brick of cheese and you slice it and you've got some good crackers. It's really filling and it's delicious.
Do you have a
It's called
particular?
thin crust pizza.
Do you have a particular? Wow, Paul. A particular flavor of cheese you prefer?
That would be extra sharp cheddar.
Ooh, that's pretty good. Celeste, what is your favorite snack food?
I am a big fan of ice cream.
Ooh, yeah.
Yes.
Just in general, ice cream
Nice.
is a
Do
thing
you have
for
a
me.
particular maker that you like better?
I do, but I have two. So I have issues where I can't have as much sugar. It makes me sick. So I have a flavor or a brand for when I'm being good, and a brand where I'm going, I'm gonna regret this later, but in the moment I don't care.
Yeah.
And I'll just pay the piper later. So,
Still.
but my there's a brand called Rebel ice cream that they use erythritol and xylitol as the sweetener, which is not quite as bad for you as like aspartame. And then they're pretty good. It tastes close to real ice cream. And then
Nice.
I like Brahms ice cream, which is it's a Texas company.
Okay, I was
Did
going to
he
say, I
make
haven't heard of
Dracula?
either of those. Wow, Paul. Yes. Bram Stoker's ice cream.
It's
Blood flavored, I'm sure.
I'm not gonna say that because it's
to
inappropriate in
die
some
for.
countries.
It's to die for. Nice. It's to undie for, Paul. Because they're the
Yeah.
undead.
Yes. Makes you want to live again.
Oh my gosh. Okay. Well, that's fantastic, guys. Thanks for those answers.
Great trivia, Francisco. And I have our answer to our last audience question, which again, what was the first kaiju movie you saw?
Ooh.
Thank you to Nathan and Drew for answering the questions, but the Dapper Man beat you to it because his name was drawn this time. Bwahaha. And this was his response. The first kaiju movie I saw was the original 1933 King Kong. Thank you for sharing, Kevin, and you'll get a free month of Fourth Dimensional Fan Club membership to cause all sorts of mayhem and havoc visual effects to happen on our live streams.
Yes, indeed.
So, yay. Now, here is this episode's listener question. Are you ready? What is your favorite snack food? What is your go-to munch, nom, nom?
Yes, indeed. So send your answers to trivia@retrorewindpodcast.com or leave a comment below in the video version of this by the time we record the next episode, which gives you usually a week and a couple of days. But now that we have all had some trivial fun, let's find out what memories you, our awesome rewinders, had about The Parent Trap. Becky Williams says, I can probably quote the whole movie.
Kevin Joshua Burnham says, a fun family film. Can't believe Disney made so many sequels with Haley Mills on The Parent Trap. Yeah, it's quite a... Yeah, there's 2 and 3, and then I think that was it.
Are there more?
So.
I think there's just 3.
There's one where she's an adult.
There's 3.
I think that's 2 and 3.
2 and
There's
3
2 and
when
3,
she's
and then
adult.
there's a third spin-off of 3.
What?
What?
Yeah, there's...
What the third one is they go to Hawaii.
Oh, no, that's
Right?
Saved by the Bell. Indiana.
This is not Good Morning, Miss Bliss. I'm sorry.
Yeah, that's it. Yes.
All right, now I have to Google this.
I swear I saw
Parent
4.
Trap 3.
But watch me be wrong.
But, well, while
Maybe it was
Paul's looking
double
that up,
vision.
Yeah, double
let's see,
vision.
Stephanie
There's
Russell.
Parent Trap, honeymoon, a Hawaiian honeymoon.
Okay.
Was that considered 4? Sorry.
Sure, whatever.
We're going to take some time,
Yeah, let's
and
take
we're
some
going to
time.
dive deep into
Because
this.
there was
we need
2.
the Parent Trap lore.
There was 2. I remember
right.
there were,
Then there was 3.
and then there was.
And then there
3
was the
Hawaiian honeymoon.
The Hawaiian honeymoon.
I feel validated.
You're right.
Yes.
There were 4. Good job.
Well done.
I know my
Well
Parent
done.
Traps, and I've seen them all, and it's a big downhill.
Your claim to fame. Oh, in terms of quality of the films, you mean? Oh, okay. Gotcha.
Oh, it's a
Been a
good
whole
thing
on
you weren't
Disney
saying her
Plus.
claim to fame was downhill.
Well, yeah, that's why I thought too. Stephanie Russell, back to your memories. Stephanie Russell says, I need to watch this movie again. The original is always good. Paul, I expect a really good impression for this next one.
No. I don't know why. Anyways, Applesauce Photography 2018 says, I remember everything. Love this film. High point, the revenge sequences at both campsites. Ha ha ha.
That sounded just like applesauce. I could hear
close
apple.
enough.
Yeah, I think so.
That's what applesauce sounds like, in case anyone was wondering.
Exactly. Applesauce photography, but okay. Wardale White says one of the first movies I would see when the Disney Channel came on in 1983, when it was
Likewise.
a channel that parents could watch with their children. I remember loving the chemistry between Maureen O'Hara and Brian Keith, and also though played by both Haley Mills, the chemistry between the twins. I love how the overall story came together.
Leslie Ham says, I loved this movie when I was a teeny bopper.
Stephen Forrester says, I actually just watched this again. I love the story, and Maureen O'Hara was absolutely stunning in this movie, as she was in everything she ever did. I really liked the chemistry between her and Brian Keith as well. I felt that Haley Mills' performance was a little spotty, though. It was fine much of the time, but then in certain scenes she would blow it and come off as incredibly cheesy. The worst example probably being the camp scene where the girls find out they are sisters. Overall, I love... What? Oh, you disagree?
I said I disagree. I thought that was one of the better scenes. I liked how this film, I wrote down as one of my other likes, since we didn't get to all 3, is that how it takes the time, and there are moments where like they realize they're sisters. A lot of movies like would kind of rush through that, but
Sure.
it's like when the grandfather realizes, and like when all these moments, this film lets those scenes breathe, and I thought they did a great job.
Gotcha. He continues, overall, love the movie, and the Let's Get Together, yeah song was stuck in my head for the next day or two.
Yeah. John Harju says, I remember my sister liking it and me being bored. Even from a young age, my taste in entertainment strayed towards the strange and bizarre.
And finally, Alex Ortiz says, before YouTube, a TV special about movie mess-ups showed me that Sharon's arm gets cut off during the Let's Get Together when she swings her arms over her head. That's now all I can see when I watch the scene. Very distracting. Well,
I couldn't find it this time.
I could see, and even in your post that you made for what I'm watching now, Paul, the shadow of the right hand, Haley Mills, you can see where if it moves over, it
cuts
blurs
off.
out. Well, it just blurs
Yeah.
out. There's a gradation
Oh,
there. It's
okay.
like, what's happening to this shadow? It's a ghost or something. But yeah, I didn't see the arm thing. Regardless, now that Alex's comment leads us right into the things that, like an arm, should have been cut from The Parent Trap. So it's time for our
Worst 3.
worst 3 things, 2 things, Celeste, what was something you didn't like about The Parent Trap, if there was anything?
Now, I'm going to preface this with I understand the time frame and that they did not have the technology that we do today. But sometimes the green screening of Haley Mills with Haley Mills was rough.
Oh,
It
I never
was
noticed.
real rough. Or like they would
Really?
like there were certain scenes where they would like have them walking through the park and you could tell they
Boston.
weren't really
Yeah, they weren't in
working.
Boston. They never went to Boston.
Well, no, here. Oh, wait, hold on.
Hold on.
Okay.
Is that the? Yeah, that's the part you fell asleep on.
No, I
Okay.
didn't fall asleep on it. This was a dislike, but it didn't make my top two. Continues to last, and I'm going to add on to it. Please continue.
Okay. So it was really frustrating because I've seen Disney do better. And so I'm sitting here going, were they just trying something new that they weren't familiar with? Like, was this a brand new technology that they were trying to do? Or, because like the stuff with Mary Poppins that they were doing with the cartoons and whatnot was great. It was fabulous.
That's a different background image than a real.
It is. And maybe that's the issue, but it was a little rough sometimes. It made me go, ooh. So that was
What
a
is
dislike.
this? I'm watching a movie? Come on.
So what I'll add to that is, so I didn't notice anything that was really rough about like Haley Mills and that aspect of it. But when it went from they're in a green screen taking a picnic and then walking doing the like, let me just move back and forth and we're pretending we're walking. I'm like, what the junk, Disney? And then they, to make matters worse, they pull out to a wide shot where they're in the actual park. I'm like, okay, why couldn't you just film in the park? I was like, okay, maybe they had to do this in a studio. They couldn't get to a park. All right, fine. But no, they're literally in the park. And then at the end, they do a green screen of the ranch that they've been filming on for most of the movie for the wedding. I'm like, oh, come on, what's wrong with this?
It was like it was an alternate scene added at the end. We need something at the end.
I mean,
yeah.
okay, I could see that, but it's still, that just really perturbed me. That it's like, because the overall quality is like they're like on set, they're at the camp, it looks great. They're in the ranch, they're in all these places.
You got to remember, this was filmed 60 years ago. They weren't expecting people to watch it on home video. They thought maybe people would watch it once, ever maybe, and then if they were lucky enough to have it re-released in theaters, it would be at least 10 years. So it's going by quick. But
I suppose that's a good point, Paul.
It did make my dislike list, but it was cut off as well.
All right.
But you're absolutely right. It was mind-boggling to me how Haley Mills looked so good with Haley Mills, but they didn't look good in a park. I mean,
Well, see, and then even sometimes when Haley Mills was with Haley Mills, there were issues, and you're like, I can see the line, but I also have to take into account that when I was a kid watching this movie, because I remember going, that looks weird. But we recorded it off of the Disney Channel onto a VHS. So
which was legal at the time.
That's true.
Oh, good. That's good to know. But it might have been. I don't know.
Actually, I think it's always been legal to record off the TV if it's free over air.
There was at one point, it wasn't legal. It wasn't illegal, but then they made it legal, like in the very early 80s,
because you're essentially
was coming out.
You're essentially just time shifting your viewing. So yeah.
Well, whatever it was, I watched it multiple times, and I just always attributed the weirdness to this is on a channel on a VHS that's now 10 years old. So watching it on Disney Plus makes me go, oh no, that wasn't just the VHS. Although I will admit it was nice to not have the ad for the Disney Channel in the middle of the movie.
Nice.
Yeah, that's back when the Disney Channel was not as good. Started when it started to become not good.
Mm-hmm.
Womp, womp, womp.
Downhill Disney Channel,
Womp,
and it's
womp,
still
womp,
down there.
Yep.
What are you going to do about it?
Whoa. I'm surprised. So they still have the Disney Channel, even though they have
it's
Disney
really
Plus?
weird.
They
Why they still have them around is beyond me. They just should put everything on Disney Plus and get it over
Well,
with.
regardless.
Because some people still pay for cable.
Apparently. Let's go to Ashley next. What's something that you didn't like about Disney Plus? I mean, the Disney Channel. I mean, The Parent Trap.
I couldn't have been the only person bothered by Hayley Mills slipping into her British accent. Could I have been? It drove me absolutely batty at certain points in the movie because I did watch it on Disney Plus, and I watch most things with subtitles on. And you know they're making a point when the subtitles actually say, in parentheses, British, whenever Sharon was speaking. And
I was about to say, that was Sharon's role. That was her neighborhood. They grew up in that.
Yeah,
no
that was her
one
surroundings.
else in her family has that type of uppity accent. They carry themselves in a way, they're poised, and they have a sort of accent for Boston in the
Charles
1960s, but because they were older and they had more of an acting background, I felt like they carried themselves with kind of almost like a transatlantic accent because they were classically trained and grew up in the early days of screen time. And Hayley Mills, she was very young at the time, so there would be times when she would be playing Susan, and it would be ever so subtle, but it was very convincing that she was doing her best job mimicking an American accent. But when she was playing Sharon, she dropped into it more heavily than other times. And there were certain moments in the movie where I just got lost, and I'm like, this is driving me crazy. Why am I getting so mad at this? It was like a suspension of disbelief for me, just because she kept, and the fact that Disney Plus had it in parentheses, British, and then the lines. And I'm just like, nah.
See, to me, and I may be giving Hayley Mills too much credit, but to me it was more a matter of, because she was Susan pretending to be Sharon.
Right.
When it was happening. And so to me, her slipping in and out of it was indicative of the fact that she was pretending to be a twin that she wasn't. I didn't notice it when they were in their right spots.
Happened a little bit here and there, but I guess I'm just so used to it. I mean, I'm thinking of like what they did in the remake to kind of change that and make it actually incorporated into the film. But this, I'm like, I understand that Hayley Mills was fairly young at the time, and it could have happened to anybody, but the fact that it happened so frequently, it lost me. I'm like, people from Boston in the 1960s don't sound like that. I'm sorry.
Yeah, we're time travelers. We would know.
Yeah, right?
We would know.
I wonder if this is a product of, now, so for me, I think I've only honestly seen this movie one time before as a kid at some point. And then seeing it this time, I didn't notice that, but I wonder if I was so sort of focused on the other elements of like what's going on in the story and following that and just seeing that through and just seeing other elements like bad green screen that I didn't pick up on that. Though if I've seen this movie several times over the course of my life, I'd be more ready to pick up on stuff like that. So I wonder if that's might be the case here.
Yeah.
I'm sure it's there. I noticed that there was something, but it didn't bother me because I think I was just too focused on other things.
Yeah, I think it's because I've seen this movie so many times and we actually had a legitimate copy on VHS. And
whoa, shots fired. Celeste.
We had it in the Disney plastic clamshell, so it came out in the 90s, and we watched it on home video. And I remember watching this movie so much, and I'm like, she always sounded a little off to me. And it wasn't until as I got older, I'm like, oh yeah, she's British.
Yeah.
You British.
She was born of Mr. Robinson of the Swiss Family Robinson.
Oh my gosh.
That's her dad.
Great. Paul, what's
fine?
What's a dad? What? That's not a joke. What's something that's bad about Parent Trap for you?
Oh my gosh. So Ashley touched on this earlier when she mentioned the running joke of wait till your grandmother sees your hair. Well, look what you've done with your hair. So it was long before and now is short. And guess who has short hair?
You?
Her grandmother.
Hypocrite.
Oh, it looks almost exactly like her grandmother.
Right.
And she's like, why'd you cut your hair? To look more like you, grandmother. Don't you like it?
So, okay, well, here's something that I think is more of a time issue for me, because I wonder the whole hair issue. I wonder if there's something missing for me, having not grown up in that era, that styles meant something different. Like, because the mom had her hair up, and then she had it fuller, and then that was more like youthful, I guess. And so, and then but then the grandma had hers up, but then she was sad when then Hayley Mills or Sharon cut her hair. It was confusing to me. I wasn't sure what certain hair types were supposed to indicate. Like the the Vicky, who was the young person that Mitch was going to marry, I was like, you don't look that young. You and Maggie look about the same age. So I'm like, okay, I guess you're young.
I would actually say that Maureen O'Hara looked younger.
Yes, a little bit. Yeah, almost.
It's
So
the silver hair, yeah.
though I did look it up, the Vicky was played by a 26-year-old, and Maggie.
No way.
Yeah.
She looked like 56.
I know, right?
Like,
That
Well, and me
hairstyle
and Paul
didn't
talked
help
about this.
her. It didn't help her.
No.
well, she may have been prematurely gray or silver. I think that's
maybe that could be.
But she had strong like jaw features, which you usually don't see in someone that 26. But
she has
wow,
a strong jaw. Where's that from? I'm quoting
have
something.
no
I don't
idea.
remember where that's from. Oh, is that Friends?
But going back to the
Yeah, it's
grandmother, I thought the grandmother had long hair and cut it and then regretted it. And maybe that's why
I
she
could
told her,
see
because
that. I could see that.
everyone knows in 1 Corinthians 11:15, it says, but a woman has long hair. It's for her glory. So, don't cut your hair unless you have to. Or you want to.
Okay. Thanks, Paul. I was gonna sort of go off on that, but now thank you for, as much as I appreciate the scripture, it totally derailed my train of thought. You're welcome. I'll go to the thing I didn't like though, which was, and I mean, I guess this could be another different time. People just felt differently, but as a parent, I cannot imagine being willing to be away from my child for pretty much their whole life. And just like, oh, well, I'll take one, you take one. It's like, that seems horrible. That's just
Like, what judge approved that?
Yeah.
That's another whole issue. It seems like,
It may have been common back then, or
And
I should
maybe-
say
maybe
more
it was.
common. Like in the law books, it may have been allowable back then.
yeah,
and
but
it may be different now.
that
I
just
don't know.
seems so, I mean,
Judge Judy, maybe.
wow. No, Wapner for sure. No, I'm surprised that didn't seem to, they both,
Judge Solomon.
there you go. Both,
Yeah, cut the baby in half.
Except there's two, so you
That's
each
what
can
they
have
did.
one. Instead of having to cut
Yeah,
it down the
exactly.
middle.
One whole baby.
Still sad though.
Both-
One whole
Win-win.
baby.
could have finished my point. Both Maggie
No, Solomon wins.
and Mitch. That is his name, right? I'm not saying the
Mitch.
actor's name.
Yes, Mitch.
Mitch. Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's not Keith Bryan.
Thank you. Both Maggie and Mitch, both feel like they both seem like they're happy and overjoyed to see the daughter that they didn't grow up with. But it's like, that seems just so crushing to like not to know that you have a son or daughter in this case, but a son or daughter somewhere else that you're not going to see grow up at all. So I'm just surprised that there wasn't. I don't know. It seems like there'd be more to that they would address that in some way, but they don't. And so I'm just like, I'm a little flummoxed about that. So that's more personal
Does that go
to
into
me.
your tragic maker?
No, it
'Cause
actually does not go into my tragic maker. My
I thought
tragic
your
maker is very much a Francisco thing.
I thought your tragic maker was like, how come the parents can't figure it out that that's not their kid, but their helpers can?
No, I didn't. No, that's a good point. I didn't think about that part, but
That actually was my tragic maker.
Yeah, I called it.
Well,
I'm sorry.
you know what? That's fine. Let's get into tragic makers because that was the last dislike of our dislikes. So let's expound. Why was that your tragic maker?
It's just so frustrating because, like you said, I can't imagine a parent being willing to separate themselves from their kid. Like, I know it happens. I know that happens, but generally when it happens, you don't take one and leave the other. Like, generally when that happens, it's a complete disregard. And so I'm sitting here going, why would you do that? Like, what kind of therapy do these girls need to go through now because mom rejected this one and dad rejected this one? Like, what is happening to these children psychologically? So
Well,
it
according
just,
to the dad in this, you just don't think about it.
yeah, no, that's, I mean, it's very 60s. Yes, I predict that as well. Cellcast. So, but it was so sad to me. And then to see the parents reunited with the other one that they thought they hadn't seen, it just, it almost ruined the feel of the movie because they were so upset. And I'm going, you did this to yourselves. So, and
I
then
thought it was very touching when they reunited. They were very happy to see.
It was, but they also did it to themselves. So I'm going, that's what you get.
Yeah, but still, it's good to have those moments. Hey, I've done things in my life that I regret, and then to see like
Paul, the master interrupter, regrets? No way.
Yeah, I'm not perfect, but it would be great. I thought it was great to see them reunited.
Yeah, I will give you that. It was good. But then they went on to the whole, okay, well, what do we do with them now? Because we can't separate them. One of you move. Like, you don't have to live across the country. You can be grown adults and talk to each
Celeste, the Red Cross. You can't miss your meeting with them.
There's a Red Cross in California. Like, just
well, they have family over in Boston where, okay, first of all, who goes to Boston for Christmas where it's like cold and like snowy and black ice and all that dangerous stuff? No, you go to California for the wintertime, and then the summertime is out in Boston area. That's the way to do it.
Good to know.
That makes sense to me.
So, but yeah, it seemed like the kids were suffering because the adults couldn't be adults.
Yeah.
And again, I understand
totally
that is a
get that.
common thing, but still.
Absolutely.
And I wonder how common this was, where there are a lot of times where kids just started half the school year in one school and then back the other half at another, and they would go back between those two schools every year and just only do half of them there. I mean, Francisco, you and I are military brats. We kind of have a clue into that, but it's not to that degree. You know what I mean?
Not at all, yeah. Yeah, you're still moving around with your family, and you have a core set that's always that familiarness that's always there.
Yeah.
But yeah, that would be really strange to do something like that. Yeah. But let's move on to Ashley. What was your tragic maker for The Parent Trap?
Well, I definitely agree with all those things that were said about how that's really tragic, how the twins were split up. The thing that bothered me the most about this film was that there seemed to be little to no consequences for so much of the things that happened in this film. I look back to the very, very beginning, and you think of the girls playing pranks on each other, and how the girls that actually sabotaged the bunk, there's zero consequences for them. And I know, like,
well, they never got caught,
and it's like, but the girls who were in that cabin got punished, and it's like, seriously, would they really do that to themselves? Why are you punishing them for something that they had no part in? And the only reason why they got that retribution is because, a canoe got tipped over and we're wet, so now we need to get revenge. And it just was so silly, and there seems to be almost zero consequences. The only consequences that happened was the two girls getting paired together in the isolation table and tent. Everything else...
Well, that's because they got caught fighting. They got caught.
Yeah, they got caught. But everything else that happens later, there seems to be little to no consequences. These girls, they lie to their parents. They impersonate each other. Their parents are like, I'm so happy to see you. And I mean, it's great that they got to reunite, but there was no consequence for that. And then at the end, when they just go and they are doppelgangers and they refuse to tell who is who, and they're basically pouting and throwing a fit. I mean, I get it. They didn't want to be separated, and it was the only thing that they could come up with. And what happens at the very end? Like, the parents get together, the girls don't get any kind of punishment that we know of. And basically it's saying, like, yeah, just lie to your parents, impersonate each other, and have no consequence, because it doesn't... Does the end justify the means? Are there ever no consequences? And that, as an adult watching that now, I'm like, seriously? You're basically telling them that it's okay to do this.
So your tragic maker in this are disobedient kids.
Unfortunately, yes.
Victory!
Wow. Did not see that coming.
And what's funny is, I'll take it, because my tragic maker is related, but not in the way you think. I agree, something felt very off, especially at the end when they're like, we're not going to tell you who's who, and you're just going to have to deal with it. I'm like, no, it's almost like they don't. I wonder if there's a case of, I've been parenting this one, but I'm not used to parenting the other, so now I don't know how to parent all of a sudden. It was just very strange that they didn't.
Or I thought they were old enough that they would stand up to their parents and just refuse.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what they're doing, though. Oh, you mean to go? To just go without having
whatever,
to resort to that? I guess. Yeah. Regardless, it just seemed really weird. I mean, I guess I'd be almost like, fine, you know what? I'm just going to take this one. It may be the wrong one, but that you kids are deciding putting us in this predicament. We're not going to go down to your level and play this game. No, you're just going to, this one's coming with me, I guess. If you want to do that, I mean, I feel like the way they separated them was not good at all, but I don't think you don't make a right with two wrongs. Anyway, parenting aside,
explain that to the kids. Like you've just separated them for their entire life. Hey, what we did was wrong, but what you're doing is wrong too. And oh yeah, like that's gonna make up for it. Okay.
Regardless, that's not in full. That's not my Tragic Maker proper. My Tragic Maker proper is two elements of this film: the beginning and the end, with the bunk that is sabotaged and Vicky's tent that's sabotaged. There is no way you do that much moving. There's no way you can move around, do all that wires, all the mud, all the honey, all that stuff with not waking up one person. No, I don't know, Celeste. I don't see how.
No, I have an example.
Yeah, Indiana Jones. If you ever watch The Temple of Doom, if you're in an Indiana Jones movie, that can fly.
I have a real life example.
Okay. Yeah. All right.
May I share it?
Yes, go
please.
ahead.
Okay. I am a really hard sleeper.
There you go.
I have to have the most obnoxious alarm clocks. My alarm clock on my phone has math that it makes me do before it stops so that I get up and don't just hit the button and go back to sleep. And I'm going to have to figure out how to make it give me more harder math problems because I'm starting to get to the point where I can do the easy math in my sleep. But anyway, when I was a teenager, we went to a camp. Now, I was getting sick. We didn't realize I had asthma. I was getting pneumonia. We didn't realize it.
Ooh.
And so I was like,
to make it worse.
I was like bad sick. And it was like a winter camp, so it was cold. And so we were in these rooms on bunk beds. We were in our own private room. So everybody that I knew was around me. It wasn't like we were just in the long hall ones. But I was so hard asleep when it was time to get up. They drug my mattress out of the room with me on it. I stood up. I grabbed the mattress. I walked back in and I half put it on the bed. And I was still asleep.
Yeah.
There's pictures.
I've done some sleepwalking myself, but there are people that you can do that. There are heavy sleepers. Not everybody's like that.
That would be a fair rebuttal, Celeste, except for the fact that there's 3 different people. You can't tell me they all have the same level of sleep. And then with Vicky, this is her first time out in the wilderness, apparently. So you're not going to be sleeping well to begin with. So
Point of order, nothing. She had a long hike, and she did a lot. She was could have been very exhausted.
Dog tired
and very tired.
No. She has all these bug bites. You're not sleeping through that. I'm going to be itching all night. No. I refuse to believe that she's going to sleep hard. She's going to be woken up by the slightest thing because, oh my gosh, wilderness, nature, it's all over me. It's going to wake her up.
It's in the script, so there you go.
Truer words were never said.
Plot armor. All right. Plot sleep aids. I get it. Okay, fine. Well, that's still my Tragic Maker, is that it just seems completely... We're talking about... Ashley was saying how suspension of disbelief with the accent... This was totally, I could not suspend my disbelief that these people would not wake up. Okay, regardless.
And how many movies have you slept through, Francisco? You did not wake up?
Wow.
All the noise going on?
Wow, with the low blows. Pull your punches a little, Paul. But Paul, don't pull your punches for your Tragic Maker. What's yours for the Parent Trap?
what was almost my tragic maker is the idea that they set this up, hey, you got to go on this camping trip, and then we'll tell you, and then the mom doesn't, and then they tell her anyway. I'd be like, sorry, that's not the deal. What are you doing? But that aside, I had said it'd been over 20, there's my beeper again, sorry. Just wait a minute, Commissioner Gordon, use the bat signal. It's more silent. Anyway, this had been at least 25 years since I've seen this. Last I seen it was on the standard definition, the small television. I've owned the HD version for a couple years now. I just haven't watched it. So when I saw it this time, it was in the glorious HD. I didn't realize how often I could tell the double who was not Haley Mills in this. Now I was kind of looking for it, I admit it, just because it was like fun, like trying to catch all like, ooh, how did they do this kind of stuff. But I thought there were several shots where they used the double instead of the split screen, and I thought the movie suffered for it, and that you could tell that it was a double and not Haley Mills. And I thought it was like, you know what? Take the extra time, redo the scene, reshoot it again with Haley Mills on the other side, and have it make it look. Now, there were some great moments, like when they both had the cake on their face, you know, I thought that was great. And I can understand, like, when the two are in the far, you know, they're in the background, like, that's fine. But there were some ones where it was kind of obvious that I wish that they had re-shot again and put Haley back in.
What's funny about that, though, Paul, is, at least according to IMDb trivia, is that when Walt Disney saw the process shots for The Parent Trap and how well it looks, he's like, do some more of those, because he thought it worked really well.
Oh, there would have been less.
Yeah,
well,
there would have been
Disney
less, exactly.
needed to be more involved. Come on.
I was trying to look up so we could give her some credit. The actress who was because it was here.
I felt kind of bad in all the promos. They never promoted her, you know, because they always said Haley Mills in it twice.
Well, she was actually Susan Henning. She actually took on the role as Haley Mills' double. But her contract, she signed away her rights to be credited. But at the wrap party, Walt Disney presented her with the small statue of Donald Duck, called the Duckster, in recognition of the best unseen performance on film. So nice. She at least got a Duck trophy. I guess that's something. But okay, so you're upset that they didn't do more of the Haley Mills and actually Haley Mills together.
Yeah, there were times when you're looking for it, you can tell, and I mean there are times where you can tell, like in the backdrop, but like for example, when they're both laughing at the when they're camping at the end and they're laughing at Vicky falling into the lake, it's a straight on shot of the double laughing facing you, and Haley Mills is turned away, and then she turns and it's her. It's like most of the shot is on the double rather than Haley Mills.
Oh, I didn't notice that.
It should have been twice.
Oh.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
Okay.
A lot of it was my own thing where I was kind of looking for that.
Yeah.
But that's an example where it's like, okay, you wanted the shot of them laughing. That was a terrible one to use, but if you're looking for that kind of thing.
Gotcha. All right. That's very fair, guys. And now that we've all entered our trajectories into the firing computer, Alice, do you have a firing solution for us?
Yes, somewhere.
Firing solution complete. Rating salvo at the ready. On your mark.
All right, guys. Do we rate The Parent Trap 1961, the original Actually, I think there was a version before. No, there was. Sorry,
it's based on a book.
It's based on a book, but apparently there's another film that came out that this is very almost the identical plot to. Regardless.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
There's a twin movie about the twin movies.
No, it's here. I'll look.
And they go to Hawaii on their honeymoon.
Hold on, I'll try to find it.
There's triplets in those later movies. Thank you.
Yes.
The movie called, again, IMDb trivia, grain of salt. So apparently the movie Twice Blessed from 1945, which is an MGM film, the plot is nearly identical to this movie, apparently. So interesting. I've never heard of Twice Blessed, but I guess it's very similar. Regardless, given all, now that we've
two identical who have been split up since their parents divorced 7 years before.
Oh, this is the
Parents,
synopsis?
The twins are very different. Stephanie is shy but brilliant. So that's what I was saying. Maybe back then it was more common.
Oh, to have them split. Yeah, maybe it was. All right.
Maybe.
Fair point. Regardless, talking about Parent Trap, 1961. How do we...
not Twice Blessed?
No.
Okay. Sorry. Wrong podcast.
How do we rate this film? A classic, we'd recommend anyone go see this film, whether or not they've seen it before. A nostalgic, if you saw it as a kid, yeah, definitely worth your time to revisit it and just sort of bask in the nostalgia of it. But if you've never seen it before, I'd probably give it a pass. Or a tragic. It's not worth anyone's time today, whether or not you've seen it before. And if you have seen it before, don't re-watch it because you'll sully any good memories you have of it. All right, so let's go around and let's start with Ashley this time. What is your final rating for The Parent Trap? A tragic. I could not believe it. That's very surprising. All right, I'll write that down, though.
Stop putting words in my mouth. Let me explain myself.
I thought I heard something. I'm sorry. Okay, go ahead.
It
Ashley.
actually is still a nostalgic for me. Although there are more and more things upon rewatching that could make me eventually end up calling it tragic, but for now it's nostalgic. Maybe as I keep rewatching and I see all these things that Paul pointed out, and it becomes very obvious, and I start just thinking about it more and more and more to the point where it just drives me batty, and I focus on all the things that I don't like instead of the things that I do. It ultimately could be that, but for now, nostalgic, just because I have such fond memories watching this with my mother and my grandmother growing up, and we would sing Let's Get Together because we had Disney sing-along songs, and you would follow the bouncing ball, and that particular song from the movie is on Disney sing-along songs, and we would sing it together. And even though I'm not too keen on the song now, I have those memories, and they'll stay with me all the days of my life. So nostalgic all the way.
Aw, very good.
I'll tell you what, if you watch the sequels, 2, 3, and Hawaiian Vacation more and more, you'll appreciate this one and might even push it to a classic.
Of that I am sure, because they're pretty darn bad.
So that's how you do it, Paul. I see. Celeste, let's go to you next. What is your final rating for The Parent Trap?
I'm going to keep with my prediction of a classic.
A classic?
Because even with everything that's going on, it's a good movie. It's a wholesome movie. It's funny. There's some great acting in it. And it would be something I would share with others.
Very good. That leaves Paul and myself. Let's go with Paul first. What's you predicted classic? What's your final rating? Tragic?
So
oh my goodness, what a turn.
I was amazed. It was
hearing things. I'm sorry. I'm hearing
seriously,
things,
I was amazed because when I watched this, like I said, it'd been 25 years. I'd seen this several times before then, and I would often fast forward the beginning because it was so slow and
slow and boring.
Yes. But as soon as it came on the song, I enjoyed every single minute of this film. So the nostalgic goggles were on so tight I could barely see the flaws, as I mentioned before. It's a classic for me. I'd recommend it to everybody, if recommended is even a word.
Recommended.
You sure you don't want to go with nostalgic, Paul?
I'm absolutely 100% positively sure. And I saw the Lindsay Lohan remake once in the theaters and never really had any desire to watch it again. Sorry for the people that do like it, but after watching this, I really want to watch that again and compare it now.
Yes.
Yeah. And I haven't yet because I've been waiting. I didn't want to get it mixed up with my memories for this podcast. So I'm looking forward to watching that, which is rare for me.
That is rare. Wow. Well, okay. Jeez. Make it, I feel like this is like 3 times in a row or something. Or was it? Yeah.
I don't know, but with 2 classics, even if you do a tragic, it's not that,
hold on. So we did.
Are you doing math again?
Here we go.
Bite me, Paul. Give me a second.
There it is. Bingo.
No, okay, so no, we did have Liar Liar. That was unanimous classic between these. But apparently we're having quite the run of ties because I rate this nostalgic. I was trepidatious, but I had fun and I could see watching this again. It was enjoyable. There was a lot that I was like that made it didn't hit classic at all for me.
It's the 60s.
Maybe that's it. Yeah, is like the highs were high and the lows were just like middling, especially that green screen that was not right at all. And what was my charge maker again? Oh yeah, all the prank stuff that you still can't convince me that would work. But regardless, nostalgic for me. So given that, we are at a tie with 2 classics and 2 nostalgics. So it's up to you, our Rewind Republic, our patrons at the $5 or higher level. Let's go to you and see what you voted for The Parent Trap. Francisco from the past. What do they say? Thank you, Francisco from the past. And thanks to our patrons at the Rewinder Republic level, they were kind of split on their decision, but if I take their votes into consideration and then our votes into consideration, I would say it's safe to assume The Parent Trap 1961 is a disputed nostalgic film. That's the Retro Rewind podcast review. We'd recommend, if you have fond memories of it, definitely it's worth rewatching. But if you've never seen it, probably watch maybe another version or something else entirely. Back to Francisco and crew from the past. What? Really? Well, I guess I could see that.
Well, there you have it, folks.
Yeah. All right. Well, good to know. Thank you again for helping us decide that, patrons. All right, guys. Well, I guess with that, it's time to get back to our own time. Good old 20XX.
20XX.
Comsat online. Receiving incoming transmission.
Feels good to be back, but we wouldn't have been able to travel back to 1961 to begin with if it weren't for our amazing reflux capacitors, namely Jared Holzhauer, Deborah Powers, Brian Keating, Patrick Hicks, LJ Lowry, Chris Cowan, the Feel and Film Podcast, Chris Owens, Geek Devotions. Oh, one of them's right here. The Untold Podcast, Mrs. Lomax, James Kinnison, Drew of the Cellcast, Ashley Cronenbitter. Oh, she's here too. Pastor Dewson, Kennethan, Redeemed Utaku, Ryan Lingle, That's Our Bobo, Josh Adams, D. Tungsten, Andy Lewis, and Jeff, in addition to 4 other awesome patrons as well. Thank you for fighting crime in a future time, and also for keeping the gigawatts coming. And if you want to help keep us flying for as low as $1 a month and get bonus content for your generosity, head over to retrorewindpodcast.com/support to help us grow via Patreon, Subscribestar, or PayPal.
This stream is sponsored by PaulJPowers.com.
And while we're thanking our supporters, we also want to give a big twice the hug because, they're twins. Anyway, to Ashley and Celeste for joining us and supporting us with their thoughts about The Parent Trap tonight. And let's begin with Ashley. Begins with an A. So where can people find you online? Is there anything cool that you're doing that people should know about?
Nothing really to promote at this time, but you can definitely find me on Instagram and on Twitter at APK1186. I like to post pictures of my cat, my nerdy collections like enamel pins and Funko Pops, and I like to tweet about Jesus and all things nerdy like video games and anime, whatever's on my mind.
Are you still going through the entire Star Wars stuff?
That kind of burned out on that, but I think it's time that I should probably revisit that. I stopped.
Yeah.
I want to say I stopped and started and then stopped and then I never started again. So
yeah, so you're in between.
Yeah, I'm in between, and I know that I was on season 4 of Clone Wars, and it just really picks up pace from what folks have told me, so I think it's time I buckled myself back in.
Yeah, you got to prepare for the new seasons of what's that one from Rogue One? Anyway, are you excited about that? I'm excited about
All
that.
Star Wars,
anyway.
Bring it on.
Are
Yeah.
you
and
talking
also,
about Bad Batch?
Yeah,
yes.
Bad Batch is coming up. People should look
Yeah.
forward to
Bad
that.
Batch is from Clone Wars.
Are they in the Clone Wars?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
I know. All I know is I haven't seen Clone Wars. Well, I saw that horrible CGI movie back when it came out. But I know it's linked to Rogue One, I think. But Celeste, same question to you. Where can people find you online? Is there anything cool that you're doing that people should know?
You can find me under anything on all the socials at Geek Devotions.
At Geek Devotion. Okay.
You can also listen to me play a very southern character on Playing Games with Strangers. So we have some pretty good storytelling that goes there, and a lot of people who are a lot more talented than me doing voices. So it's fun to listen to.
Oh, we should have them on.
This just in. A new patron has arrived. Thank you for fighting crime in the future time, Little Ronin.
Woohoo!
Welcome. Never mind.
Yeah, this
Welcome
is a
cool
first, so we're not sure where to go from here. But thank you.
Welcome to the cool club, Little Ronin.
Exactly. Yeah, the cool club. That's what we'll call it.
The Rad Rewinder community.
Indeed. Let's see. So thank you all again so much, Ashley, Celeste, Paul, for helping review this movie. And a hearty thanks to those of you listening for the first time, and of course all of you who are a part of our Rad Rewinder community, which Paul just mentioned. You all who watch us live every week, whether we are recording this podcast or I'm playing retro games, are such an amazing group of people helping sustain the pod. But if you're looking for ways to get involved in growing this Retro Rewind endeavor, reach out to us on social media where we are at Retro Rewind Pod pretty much everywhere. You could buy some of our merch, leave us a review on Apple Podcasts or Podchaser, become a monthly patron, or simply just share your favorite episode of the podcast with a friend so that more people can enjoy the content of the Retro Rewind Pod.
I'm not saying a word, not one single word. But you've been listening to RetroRewindPodcast.com/223, our review of The Parent Trap with me as your XO, PaulJPowers.com. You can find me and all my socials at PaulJPowers.com, but I'm not saying a word, not one single word.
Well, thank you for being an amazing friend, Paul. Even though apparently you're not saying any word. No interruptions, apparently, from this point forward. Good to know. And thank you for being on this another fun voyage with me. I have been and continue to be the captain of the pod, Francisco Ruiz. Find me on Twitter at FXRetro_, especially if you need pixel art work commissioned.
Speaking of commissions, we've been commissioned to announce. Are you sure we want to say commissioned? Because that's a lot of commissions. Are we sure we want to?
It's the segue I chose. Just go with it.
All right. We've been paid to tell you that
no,
we are.
It's not. No.
That's what a commission is.
We're not paid. We're paid in like we get mentioned on as in other Spirit Play and other Christian Geek Central podcasts.
Well, that's why I'm not saying a word. But I will say that we are part of the Christian Geek Central network at ChristianGeekCentral.com. So, but again, I'm not saying a word.
Thank you, XO. And thank you all for listening. We really do pray that you are more joyful now than when you first hit play. But like a Pokemon, we gotta catch you all for Pew Pew Mega Man 2, our next episode of the Retro Rewind Podcast.
Retro Rewind mission complete. Proceed to nav point Omega and return to base.
Not one single word.